from Los Angeles, California, Ross May. Good afternoon and welcome on VH Berries.
Victor, nice to be here. Thank you for having me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm extremely grateful. How about you?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day here, and I got a lot of work done this morning, and I feel good.
I truly believe that there are two types of art director. The one using the halftone effect and the other one.
Yeah, the halftone effect is, it's a great effect. I use it quite often, and I'm glad you like it. That's great.
Absolutely, because yesterday you gave me a sort of illumination by revealing the name of the effect that I was looking for and chasing for the last decade.
Yeah, halftone, color halftone. It's funny because it's a really old school sort of texture. It's like an old school print texture where they literally printed in 3 colors and overlaid the colors most of the time. Cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, overlaid all the colors, and it just sort of created a really interesting texture just via the printing process. So I'm doing it now in Photoshop, and you're going to do it in GIMP. I'm excited to see what you make with that. So I'm happy that you were able to figure that out. That's great. I'm happy to be a part of the process on that.
Actually, to be honest, I was so desperate to find the name that I was thinking about printing the image in real life and then scanning it, but the result would have been worst.
Well, honestly, a lot of times I think like a physical copy like that is actually like a really interesting, it can add more texture to what you're doing, and it can actually add like more interesting details and stuff. So, maybe you don't do it with the color halftone, but there are a lot of reasons why you could, when you would want to use a scan or like a photograph of something that you've printed out, because it can give more of a tactile feel to whatever you're working with. And so yeah, I don't know, don't knock that idea too hard. It actually could be a really useful and interesting technique to use.
Ross May, this tactile, as you mentioned, sense and feeling is something that is very close to all of your work that you've done for numerous newspapers. And I would love to discuss about this specific Ross May style and movement, as well as your journey that started in another state, which is not in California.
That's right. Yeah. Well, first off, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say. And, I grew up in Indiana, which is a long way from California. And it's a lot different than California. I'm happy to be in California though. So
you were born there and you grew up in, Mississippi. It's not Mississippi, actually. I confused the names.
No. It's very easy to confuse. I was born in Indiana and grew up in Indiana, moved to California when I was 25, and spent a little time in Washington, D.C., and now I'm back out in California, in Los Angeles, and I don't want to go anywhere. I really love it here. I love Los Angeles, and California in general it's a beautiful state with so much to offer, and I love the people too. It's really good people. It's a great place to be.
I can truly feel when you're talking that there is this feeling of having a lot of opportunity in the place in which you are staying right now. And I cannot believe that I confuse Mississippi and Indiana.
It's easy to do, you wouldn't be the first to do it, and you won't be the last. It's for sure easy to do. It happens all the time. No sweat.
Is your roots and your family still living there? I'm very curious about your early days growing up there and playing video games there.
Yeah. Well, that was a lot of my childhood video games, specifically Halo. Played a lot of Halo growing up. And yeah, my family is still there. I have my sister, my brother-in-law, my nephew are still there. My dad, my stepmom, and my mom are still there, and all of their family is still there. I do have some family out here in Orange County, but you know, the vast majority of my family is in Indiana, and so yeah, I'm the only one out here in California. But growing up in Indiana was it's a lot different than what it is in California, and I think the move from Indiana to California was pretty, number one, eye-opening for me. It was sort of like, I've said this before, but, and I still feel this way, you know, when I moved here when I was 25, I came to California in Los Angeles. I moved immediately to downtown Los Angeles, and I was living with my cousin at the time, and, there was just this feeling of, oh, this is what the world is, you know. Indiana is a very particular place. I loved growing up there. It was, you know, a really wonderful place to grow up. And, you know, I think it's a great place to raise children and everything. But it doesn't represent a larger portion of the world by any means, right? Like, Indiana is, a very specific place. The people there are very specific people. And California opened my eyes to, and specifically Los Angeles opened my eyes to, a lot more of the world, you know, just by the people. The food is incredible, all kinds of things. There's all types of reasons that I could go on for days, about why California is great and why it's so different than Indiana. But, you know, Indiana is also great. It's a great place. My family's still there, and I love going back, seeing all my friends. I'm going back in August for a wedding with my really good friend Mark. He's finally getting married, and I'm excited for that. And yeah, growing up, there was a lot of video games, like I said, and like you had mentioned, a lot of video games and basketball. That was pretty much it. It was video games and basketball for me. And you know, honestly, all the way through high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, maybe a lot of people go into high school and have a direction. They want to go to college and they want to major in this and they want to do this when they get older. And, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure what my path would be. You know, the only thing that I knew I was interested in was video games and basketball, and neither of which, well, at the time esports wasn't a thing, but I wasn't good enough at Halo. I'm still not good enough at Halo to be like a pro esports player, and I definitely am not good enough at basketball to be pro in that, by any means. Maybe in like, I don't know, some small country in the Caribbean or something. No, not even. They would definitely beat me in basketball still there. But, I didn't have any direction. That's the point, is I didn't really have any direction growing up. And that's just my own doing. You know, my parents were great and, provided for me very well. I don't mean to say anything about, you know, them not giving me a direction. It's my own. I took my own path, and it may have been a little bit slower than some of the other people, that know what they want to do immediately. I didn't. And I found that out in college. I went to Ball State University. Victor, am I talking too much? Do you want me to pause here?
That's super inspiring. Please keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So, I you know, was kind of directionless in high school and everything, and then I applied to one university, Ball State University. I got in. Actually, I didn't get in. It's kind of confusing. I did get in, and then I didn't get in. They rescinded my acceptance because, you know, high school, the senior year of high school, I kind of quit. And, I didn't literally quit, but I just stopped doing things. And so my grades dropped, and, they accepted one version of Ross, and then, unaccepted a different version of Ross that came, you know, after the summer. So, it was, that was like honestly, to be honest, that was like kind of a hard time for me, where I went to a university. I had like my freshman year dorm. I was going to live with Joe, as you know, in the dorms, and I had my schedule, I had books, and then they called me while I was on vacation and said, "Hey, we got your grades from senior year, and, they're not going to cut it." It's basically what they said. And so they unaccepted me, and, And it's funny because, I mean, I can look back at it now and say that it's funny, but at the time it definitely wasn't. But in high school, they tell you those things. They tell you, hey, you can't stop after you get accepted because they look at your grades again. And it, you know, growing up, adults and authority figures tell you that all the time, tell you things all the time. It's like, this is how the world is. And a lot of that proved to be wrong, especially growing up in Indiana. You know, all these authority figures would tell me this is how the world is. And it wasn't actually how the world worked a lot of the times. And so in this instance, I believed I didn't believe them, and it worked against me. And what they had told me was actually true. You know, if you stop working on school and applying yourself, these colleges that have accepted you, they will unaccept you. And it literally happened to me. So that was a strange time. And also, I mean, at least I hope it's sort of unique to me. I hope that doesn't happen to very many people. But anyway, from there, I went to a community college for 2 years and reapplied to Ball State. And after I made the dean's list at this community college and reapplied to Ball State and got in, and still was unsure what I wanted to do. I was interested in writing, creative writing, you know, just writing for myself basically. And I kind of knew that I didn't want to be a teacher. So English, like an English major, wasn't really on the table for me at the time. And the next step was sort of journalism. That was like something that could combine my passion for writing at the time, and sort of give me like a career path, a place to grow and learn and exceed whatever it is, you know, that I needed to do. And so I did journalism at Ball State University, and initially it was journalism news, so I was doing news writing. I remember in college there was a beer pong tournament, and this is real, it really was like I don't know if it was professional beer pong tournament or what, but there was a beer pong tournament that I literally went to, and I covered that. I covered a beer pong tournament, and I think they published it, you know, like online only or something. But that was sort of the moment where I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. The news writing is not exactly what I want to do. It's not. There's not a whole lot of creativity in that by design, right? Like news is not intended to be creative. It's just telling you the facts. And I wanted something to be a little bit more creative. And luckily, Ball State was really good, and you know their entire telecommunications program, telecommunications and journalism program is incredible. And they offered a lot of different. They offered a variety of different tracks of journalism. So you could do journalism photography, and I'm sure it's changed now, but there was journalism photography, journalism design, journalism news, and maybe a couple others. But I went with journalism news initially, and switched over, you know, after this beer pong tournament incident, I switched over to journalism graphics, where, you know, a lot more, it was basically information design. Like that was essentially, an alternate title for the major was information design. We were, you know, learning a lot of how to take a set of data and present it to people in a way that is digestible, right? Like take an Excel spreadsheet and make it something that people want to read or are interested in looking at. And now tons of great professors that were working with me there, but Jen Palalonis stands out. She was wonderful. She worked, I think, for the Detroit Free Press and multiple other publications before she came to Ball State, and now she's just like I don't know, like the president of that program. She's started her own program. She's incredible. Jen Paolonis, I give a lot of credit to her for, like the beginning of my career, and also giving me a lot of direction and really wonderful feedback in college. She was like the first in my career. I've had a couple editors who have given me like very valuable feedback, and I think that's a skill in itself, is being able to give accurate and valuable feedback to somebody, especially in like a visual design, information type of job. And I've kind of lost my train of thought. I feel like I've been speaking for 15 minutes, but Victor, if you have anything to add, shoot up.
I would add, Rosemary, that this feedback that you mentioned at the end is crucial. And today, at a larger scale, because you are an art director at the Los Angeles Times, the feedback comes from the millions of readers and users that you're reaching with your post, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Instagram, we do get a lot of tangible feedback. So just to elaborate on what you said, right now, maybe 50% of my job is working on Instagram. So I'm designing. In 2021. Oh man, so much time has passed. It's like, I forget what year it is. Anyway, in 2021, we redesigned the Instagram and launched it in, I think it was like April, maybe May. And so that's maybe 50% of my job in the last year is working on Instagram, taking our stories from the website, latimes.com, and converting it into some type of digestible quick read on Instagram, and but also at the same time making it super shareable. And so with that job, we do get a lot of data that maybe you wouldn't get from a physical newspaper. Hearing feedback from readers is, in the newspaper industry, oftentimes that feedback is very negative, right? Like it's people that are angry that we wrote something, or pointing out a mistake that we made. And I mean, obviously, rightfully so. It's just that's the way that it works. It's the people in a traditional news setting or newspaper, the feedback is it's pretty single. It's just a single issue, right? Like people are upset, so they're writing in. And but with Instagram and really any like digital publishing, we do have a lot of data and a lot of times comments or messages that are, it just opens the door to more feedback than we would get with a newspaper. And so it is very valuable to the digital aspect of that, the feedback.
Rosemary, I really love the way in which you are using the word digestible. As if the content was, for example, a drink or a type of food, because we live in a world of so many abundance. For example, from advertisement and from everywhere in the media, with thousands and millions of images. And I believe that your purpose is to try to organize everything and to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I use that word digestible because I just think it works for what we're trying to do. I don't want it shouldn't be, the barrier of entry for a reader should be as low as we can get it. We don't want people to have to jump through hoops to be able to read our content. And especially some of the stuff that we do is so crucial to our community. That's a huge reason why I got into journalism was I wanted to feel a sense of tying it to the community, contributing to a community, and luckily it's worked out where I feel like I can contribute to our community in a way that also satisfies my need to like create visually, and a big part of that is being able to take our stories and make them digestible for our readers, and that's on different platforms, on Twitter, on Instagram, I don't know, anywhere, like Discord, whatever it is that you're using, TikTok, I guess. I don't mean to say I guess, that's definitely a huge platform. So yeah, I mean, definitely trying, the goal being to get our story and get information and news out to as many people as possible, because, you know, maybe it's controversial to say now, but journalism is a very necessary part of society, you know, and we need people, not necessarily me. I know I do play like some part in that, but there are people that work for all of these newspapers that I have worked for, well, just the two in particular, and they're doing, it's both scary jobs where they're, you know, maybe in Mexico where journalists are dying right now, or maybe abroad, and right now there's not a lot of coverage of the Ukraine border because we don't have journalists in beds, but those are very important jobs that people braver than me are doing, and those are the stories that need to be told. And so I'm happy that I can contribute to that in some way, but journalism is absolutely necessary for a free and open society.
Journalism is important for the society, and in your daily work, I truly believe that you are always switching from very socio and political tough subject, for example, the one that you mentioned in various regions of the world, and in the other hand, sometimes this is just funny contents. So there is a contrast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're totally right. There is, you know, I mean, I think journalism is in a unique position to play both roles. The LA Times has the Los Angeles Times Plants Instagram account, and a lot of that is, you know, we run comics, we run memes. Micah Fluellen, he makes incredible drawings and memes that are hilarious, and you know, it's hard right now because so much of the news that we consume is just negative, and it's just the way of the world right now, I guess. I don't really have an answer for that, but it's just a lot of what we see is a major downer, and one way to combat that is to have, you know, memes and comics about plants, at least for the LA Times. That's what we do right now. Yeah, so I do see, you know, both the important role that journalism plays in society, in terms of like covering the news and the important things that are going on in the world, and, you know, in Washington, DC and Congress and stuff, but also, being able to make people laugh. The comics have always been a huge aspect of newspaper and the news industry. That's what I always read when I was growing up. My dad would get the Indianapolis Star, and I would just rip out the comics and just sit on the couch next to him and read the comics while he read the Indy Star. So it's definitely, you know, another aspect of journalism that is important, that is not necessarily as deep or as scary or as sad, whatever it might be, as traditional journalism.
The work, Rosemary, that you just mentioned, for example, is concerning the music and the culture in general. And to come back to this color halftone effect that is used everywhere, would you consider yourself going at the opposite direction as the wind? In terms of style and design and innovation?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, that's absolutely. I don't. It is part of my decision making, I guess, to, you know, not do something that is stale or has been done before. I would like to be, you know, keep my illustration style in particular. I would like to keep that something fresh, and so a lot of that is seeing what other people are doing. You know, I see the trends in design, news design, you know, advertising, all types of things. I try to take that in and, you know, apply my own filter to those things, and maybe even take parts of it and use them in interesting, different ways. Yeah, it's definitely something that I try to do, is, you know, try to go against the grain or think of what people are not doing, based on what I see them doing. And, I really, you know, it's one of the aspects of my job that I really love, is that I have the opportunity to just try these things, and maybe they work, and maybe they don't work. But that's okay, because we get to try it again tomorrow.
We can always try tomorrow, and to have a better chance to create this group of rebels going against the wind, you might need to team up. For example, you just mentioned your very precious colleague that helps you alongside your career. Who are the person that are making the Ross May group and team? And I don't know what is the exact word, but you get the sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's too many. I know it's too many people to list. But, you know, I could name a few. Jim Cook right now, he is a phenomenal editor and mentor for me here at the Los Angeles Times. And he's been super influential on my illustration style, and also like my just ability to work in general. You know, he gives me cool opportunities, and he's a great editor. So Jim Cook is definitely like right on the top of the list right now, because, you know, I work with him every day, and he's wonderful, and he listens, and he's calm, and he talks to me, and he gives me great feedback. So Jim Cook, number one in my book right now. But, you know, there's other people going back. Amy King comes to mind. She's wonderful. I had teachers in college, Pam Farman. She was incredible. And I feel bad because I know I'm going to leave people out here, but, you know, my internship at the Los Angeles Times in 2015, there's Stephen Banks I work with currently. He's also wonderful. I love working with Stephen. He's super creative, and he's been in the industry for, you know, since I've been born, and I don't mean that to date him or anything. It's just he's super creative, and he's been doing this for so long that I have a lot of respect for Steve. But Stephen Hawkins, why can I not say his name? Steve Hawkins, Steve Hawkins was my manager when I was an intern at the Los Angeles Times in 2015, and he was a big influence for me, not in a creative way, but in like, how do I say this? He really set up, you know, attention to detail, I guess is maybe the best way to say it. He was very, this is something, if any journalist, designer, or graphic designer is listening to this, and maybe even you, Victor, might know that, you know, when you work with something for so long, there are small little details that you notice, after, you know, years of looking at the same thing. You might notice some little detail that maybe an average person would miss, but you've looked at it for so long, and you know the correct way that you could say this little, you know, sentence, it needs to go up one click. And so Steve Hawkins was super influential for me in terms of that, you know, attention to detail, and also organization. Steve would always have little sticky notes on his around his computer screen that would have different notes about, you know, the programs that we're using, or some type of workflow, or maybe it's like a meeting. And I don't know, Steve really kind of set me straight coming out of college as far as being organized and staying focused on what we need to focus on, and really getting down and nailing the like fine points. That was Steve Hawkins. And then, you know, at the same time there was Wes back there, Paul was there, tons of people, and all the other people that I work with now, Judy, Jan, On, I feel bad. Now I just want to like name it literally everybody that I work with. But Kay Scanlon is incredible. Her stuff is like every single week. She comes out and has like an incredible print section that she also takes and does for digital. It's just, and Jamie Schulberg, she works 3 days a week and does more work than half of our team. It's just incredible. I work with some very inspiring art directors and super talented writers and photographers. It's a wonderful place to be, and I don't know, I just feel very fortunate to be where I am. And there's a lot of people I could go on forever, Victor. I'm sorry.
Ross-May, there is the ATD that you just mentioned, attention to details.
That's right.
Because when you left Noblesville in Indiana, this very specific city just lost it, a terrible loss. They lost it, the biggest perfectionist of the entire state.
I mean, when I left, I was not that. That's something that I picked up over time, and to be honest with you, I don't know that they would be that sad that I left. I was not a huge contribution to society in Indiana outside of like ding dong ditching and playing pranks or whatever. It was just trying to have fun, growing up. And but yeah, the attention to detail definitely came after I left Indiana, and a lot from Steve Hawkins, and then a lot from my time at the Washington Post with Amy King and Chris Meehan, Amy Cavanaugh, Rachel Orr, and it's just, to be honest with you, it's something that I've had to develop. I've actively tried to work at that, and I still have work to do. So the attention to detail definitely is something that I didn't have in Indiana, but still working on it here. So,
to be honest with you, Ross-May, on the other side, this perfectionist side can sometimes be hidden because you're working with a very active newspaper. You have obviously deadlines. You need, for example, to post a certain number of publications per day or per week. So maybe that you can come with some of frustration of not being able to really change every seconds and every small millimeter details.
It's funny that you bring that up because I was interviewing at a newspaper, and I was talking to the executive editors of the newspaper, and one of them asked, "What is your biggest weakness?" Like a classic old school, or maybe it's not old school. I don't know. I've never interviewed people for a job yet, but
maybe one day.
It's like if you Google like interview questions, that's gonna be one of them. What's your biggest weakness or whatever? And that's what I told them, was that I cared too much, and it's exactly what you said. I want to move all of the little things. I want to go through and check to make sure the rules are lined up and the bottom of the text is lined up. And sometimes you just gotta ship the paper, because you're right, especially in print. In print journalism, there's people, it's not just like an artificial deadline. Like, I need to send the newspaper so that the printing press can get it, and their whole process, they have to like create a metal plate and then ink that metal plate and then print it 100 or 300,000 times. Like, it's a literal deadline where I don't have time, or I genuinely cannot. There's a point where I have to stop caring, and that interview with the executive editors, I said that, I said I care too much, and one of them, oh man, his name was Marty. He literally laughed at me and he said, "Did you really just say that?" Because I said I just care too much, and I didn't elaborate, and Marty was like, "Did you really just say that?" and laughed. And then I elaborated, and I hope he liked my answer. I don't know, because It is true. There is some level of like caring too much where it is a fault. It becomes like, a weakness. I cared a lot about all of the minor details, but we got to get the paper out and I got to let it go. So thank you for saying that. That sparked a funny memory in my brain.
Your calendar and your agenda is, of course, built around a week of 7 days. Which days is the busiest for you? We are
Sure.
Wednesday today, but is it Monday or is it at the end of each week?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's, it could be Monday, it could be Wednesday, it could be Friday. The job and the work that I'm doing currently, there is not, like the busiest day. It's just, it could happen on, a random day of the week. But, when I'm working on print, without a doubt, the busiest day is Thursday, because Thursday is when we ship, here at the LA Times, I used to work on the Saturday section. So, it's a section that goes in the newspaper. It arrives on doorsteps on Saturdays. And, but in order to get that done and, the whole process completed, we have to send it to the printing press on Thursday. And our deadline is usually 5:30 or 6 p.m. West Coast time. And so Thursday was always, we're all working from home. So every Thursday I was just locked to my desk, when I'm working on print and, sort of just, ordering food out and just waiting. There's a lot of, hurry up and wait, if that makes sense. I do a lot of stuff and then I wait to make sure while somebody else is checking. Most often copy editors, are, checking, checking for spelling and checking the headline length and all kinds of stuff. And then they say, hey, this page is good to go. And I make all of my checks and then the editor checks so there's just a lot of moving parts where, it's necessary for me to be near my computer. Although I may not literally be working on something, I just have to be there. And then right at the end of the day, when everything is cleared to go, that's even more stressful because we have to send the paper and we're sending it for, Orange County and the Valley. There's all types of zones is what we call them, because the paper and all of the advertisements are going to change depending on what area we are sending them. So Thursday, for 2020 and 2021, Thursday was my most busy day. And, near the end of 2021 and now in 2022, it could be any day.
It makes sense. You mean that, it depends if there is a new impeachment or if, for example, The Weeknd just released Down FM.
You're totally right. Yeah. Or, even like oil spill, or this week is Super Bowl. So a lot of our staff is like, it's in Los Angeles this year. And, we have photo team, all over the place. We have video teams all over the place. There are writers in different parts trying to cover different, parts of the story. There's so much that comes out of the Super Bowl that is not just sports. So it's really a whole newsroom effort. And, it's interesting to see, but you're totally right. It just depends on, what happens in the world. And, it does mess with my schedule sometimes. A lot of times I'll have people, they'll ask me, what time do you get off today? And I say, well, it depends on what happens in the world. If there's news that breaks at 4 p.m. West Coast time, then I'm on until like 9 p.m. or whatever. But, it just sort of depends. You're totally right on that.
It depends. And Rosemay, I'm also very curious about the ideas that comes to your mind outside of the newspaper office. In your free time, are you interested in architecture or other fields? Because all of them includes design and they need an art director like Rosemay.
Thank you. I hope that they feel the same way, that they need me. But architecture is really cool. I'm super interested in like Washington D.C., for example, had incredible buildings, super old, brick and stone, and I don't know what else, buildings that I really loved to, just look at. And that's like this. That's as far as it goes for architecture for me. Is like I really enjoy and appreciate architecture. It's like, from my perspective, I think architecture in particular is something that would be like, it's just so scientific and numbers based that it's a little bit too, it's maybe, I don't know, maybe advanced is the right word for it, but I have a casual interest in architecture, and I can't really go further than that because of the level of skill it takes and level of knowledge it takes to really appreciate architecture in the way that would be needed to, transfer into that industry or anything. But as far as other visual mediums go, I have, we mentioned it earlier, video games has been something that I've always been interested in, and it's I guess bucket list item for me, or life goal for me to create my own video game. I would love to do that one day, and whether it's just creating the feel of the world, or if it's creating the box art for your video game disc, which doesn't really happen anymore, but I don't know, any type of video game industry, just the world building and the creativity that goes into video games is something that's always interested me, and it's also limitless. You can just make it whatever you want. You can literally create anything that you want out of whatever it is that comes to mind, and I think to me that's sort of a really interesting opportunity, and from a creative standpoint, it's I want that, I want to be able, it would be nice to come to work and just create art, and I don't know, maybe one day I'll do that. But yeah, video games is super interesting to me. And one of the other things that I've been interested in is like physical printmaking. So, screen printing. I did a little bit of that in college, and I would love to do more of it now. Silk screen, all types of stuff. It would be really nice to have like a studio for myself where I could have all of the chemicals and the paint and, panels and machines that I need to be able to do any type of printmaking on my own, because I think I would really enjoy that. And I guess a lot of that just comes from, or my desire for that like physical printmaking. A lot of it is maybe because the majority of my work, or really all of my work right now, is digital. So I don't really hold anything other than the newspaper. I'm not working on newspapers right now, but printmaking and silk screening, anything like that, there's a different level of satisfaction that you might get from, as a creative or as a designer or as an artist or whatever, that you get from physically holding your work. And I would like to have more of that. A lot of my work is digital, so I sort of yearn for this like physical, realistic, tactile creation where, I can say, hey, I created this, and I literally hold it up and show that I created it, rather than holding up my phone or holding up, or showing, pulling up a website or whatever.
I have no doubt that one day you will have the full ownership, and that you will be the one giving the job interview. And one day, the entire Rosmay ecosystem is going to connect. The dots are going to connect. For example, on the video games scale that you just mentioned, which would be super exciting to see an entire and brand new video game studios in the middle of California.
Thank you. I really appreciate you putting that out into the world. I hope those things do come true. I would love to, connect all of these random interests that I have. And, I don't think it's that crazy to assume that could happen. And I appreciate you saying that. And it would be wonderful to interview people, hire people, anybody that's interested in, enthusiastic about these things like I am. I would love to talk more about that and, share that with people. That's the biggest part of journalism is, sharing these stories with people and connecting with the community. That's one aspect that I think is really vital to my appreciation and also like commitment to journalism is sharing these things with other people.
But please hold on, because I hope that in 10 years, when you will be publishing your first video games, please don't use the color Hearthstone effect. It will be, has been. You need to innovate and create something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the color halftone effect on a video game would be interesting, actually. Maybe in 10 years it'll have been done and I won't be using it, but I'll have something else. Maybe I guess in 10 years we're all going to be in the metaverse anyway, right? So it'll be completely different. And I don't know. I would love to be able to publish my own game in 10 years. That's wonderful. Wonderful idea.
Ross-May, I'm wishing you the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor. I really appreciate you having me on today, and it was a great talk. I look forward to the next one 10 years down the road.